Hello again. Very well. Now we shall enter into the conceptual side of our third lesson. Well, in Book 7, Chapter 13, Aristotle deals with one of the most important parts of the business for the polis, politeia. To be honest with you, I must say that there is no one-to-one translation for this Greek word, but we may call it constitution, is what we now reckon as a constitution. In a broad sense, it stands for the whole social, political, legal, and economic structure of a state. Let's bear in mind also that the democratic regime was enforced then in the ancient Greek, I meant. So there was a body of people, sound people, spoudios is the Greek word for sound people, who run the government, who run the politeia, and run the polis. A politeia then meant a body of sound people that held office and were united in acceptance of all the standards, moral and spiritual, intellectual and artistic prescribed by the constitution, by this politeia. As a result, these standards were to be learned and acknowledged by all the citizens, by and large, throughout the state. Every man must know the laws, nomoi in ancient Greek, of the state, so that the learning was to begin at a very young age. In that regards, the most important part of any constitution is the education of those who are to be members of the state. Education was essential to get sound men, spoudios, and sound men would bring a sound constitution, a sound politeia. In turn, a sound constitution would bring happiness, eudaimonia, which is the final goal of the polis. Let me share the screen now. Here we are. So going back a little bit on our previous readings, the end of the house is the city. The end, telos, of the house, oikos, is the city, the polis. Next, the end of the city is the happiness. The end, telos, of the city, polis, is the happiness or eudaimonia. Okay. So the final aim of education then is the good and happy life, which will only happen through the development of a sound constitution. A good education will certainly bring out virtuous men who will perform sound actions and pass sound laws under the guidance of the virtue, arete, in ancient Greek. Following up his logic reasoning, Aristotle closes the chapter by saying that virtue, arete, is the result of three factors: nature, habit, and reason. The last one being a distinctive human faculty. Human being is a rational animal by definition. These three factors are to be included in the educational curricula worked out by the legislator. Let me now show you the next picture. There you are. Let me maximize it. Okay. So this is a conceptual, a kind of conceptual guidance so that you can read book 7, chapter 13 of the politics. So again, los stands for nomoi. Virtue stands for arete. The finest men, spudaios anthropoi. Right education, orthopaideia. It all follows that, following the logic of Aristotle, right education will bring finest men. Finest men will bring finest constitution. In turn, finest constitution will bring more and bigger happiness for each and every one of the citizens of the polis. Let me stop the sharing. So far, so good in the conceptual side of our third lesson. Next, you're going to read book 7, chapter 13 of the politics. Remember that you're going to find the text in the bibliography. And also remember, always, if you've got some questions, some doubts, you have the queries forum. I look forward to hear from you there in case you need some assistance. Okay. It's been enough for today. See you, and remember that after reading, there will be a final activity. The final activity is that you have to write three things that you will consider for a good constitution in regards to education. Okay, see you in the next class. Bye-bye.